What's up, guys, and welcome to part 2 of my beginner's gym guide. If you have not seen part 1, make sure you go and watch that before you jump into this video, because I'll be referring back to things in that video in this one. Now, thank you so much for all of the positive feedback on that last video. I'm so glad that I was able to help you guys in any way. I'm trying to make it as simple as possible so anyone can follow this. That's why it's a beginner's guide. Now, in this video, we're going to be discussing mobility and static stretching, as well as cardio and rest and recovery, because these three are also big key factors in the fitness journey, and they're also very important. Before we jump into this video, do not forget to give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment down below if you have any questions and or recommendations of something else that you would like to see in this beginner series, and don't forget to subscribe. Now let's start off with mobility work / dynamic stretching and static stretching. Now, what should you do and why is it important? I know growing up, I've played sports my whole life, and we had gym class and school growing up. I mean, everybody had PE or some type of physical activity. I was taught static stretching. I was taught static stretching until college. If you don't know what static stretching is when you're not really moving and you're just holding a position. Now, when it comes to mobility work and dynamic stretching, you're moving, you're constantly moving, and that is what you want to do before your workouts. You do not want to do static stretching before your workouts, and I'll explain why in a second. Now, why do we do dynamic stretching / mobility? Well, one, it helps with your range of motion. It helps loosen up your muscles. It helps with body temperature. It gets your heart rate up and with blood flow. So you want all of those things going before you start your workout. That's why it's you want a proper warm up. Now, me personally, I always jump on the Stairmaster, and I will do about 10 minutes of cardio prior to my workout just to get a little sweat, get the heart rate going, get my body warmed up, and then I'll jump into my mobility work / dynamic stretching. Try to focus on movements that I'm going to be doing throughout my workout. If I'm going to be squatting or if I'm going to be lunging, I'll do similar type of movements to get my hips loose, to get my quads ready, to get my hamstrings warmed up. When it comes to upper body, if I'm going to be doing shoulder press or lateral raises, I'll make sure to grab a band and I'll do similar exercises. Comes to dynamic stretching, you don't have to do a billion exercises like I'm going to be showing you. I usually pick about 3 or 4, and I'll make sure to do just a couple rounds of them. After my dynamic stretching, I'm already sweating. I already worked up a sweat. My body temperature is high. It's ready to go. My muscles are loose and warmed up. And then I can just jump right into my lifts. It's very, very important because, one, you want to get injured, okay? So we're going through this whole fitness journey and trying to transform our bodies. And the worst thing is having to start over, specifically after an injury. So please take 5 to 10 minutes to just warm up your body, just get loose, and then jump into your workout. When it comes to static stretching, that's what you want to do after your workout. Okay, with static stretching, the reason why you don't want to do this before your workout is because, one, it can overstretch your muscles, and it takes away that contraction. It takes away that power and that speed, all the things that you need to lift weights. You don't want to overstretch your muscles. You want them nice and warmed up, the blood flowing, but you don't want them too loose. So save your static stretching for after your workout. That's what you finish off with. I'm lazy and I don't do it half the time, but don't be like me. All right, let's talk about cardio. So depending on your journey and what it is that you're trying to accomplish is determine how important cardio is to you. Now, if you're someone who is just trying to increase your endurance, you're training for a marathon or some type of running or 10K, whatever it is, obviously cardio is going to be very, very important to you. If your goal is to lose body fat or build muscle and tone up, cardio is not super important. Okay, specifically when it comes to fat loss, I feel like a lot of people put cardio first, they're doing just a crap ton of cardio trying to lose weight. The goal is not to lose weight, is to lose body fat, and cardio is not a priority. It is not number one. If we rank it into threes, right? When it comes to trying to transform our body, trying to build muscle, trying to lose fat, nutrition is number one, weight training is number two, and cardio is number three. Okay, honestly, you don't even need cardio in order to lose body fat. You don't. But when you put all three of those things together, it just speeds up the process. It makes it a little bit easier. So that's why when I am trying to transform my body, when I'm trying to lose some body fat, I am doing all three. I am eating clean, I am lifting weights, and I am doing cardio. Now, how much cardio you should be doing? So cardio is very similar to a diet, right? In order to lose weight, in order to lose fat, you have to be eating in a caloric deficit. So which means you have to be eating under your maintenance calories. We all have a certain amount of calories that our body needs to function. When you add in weight training and stuff like that, obviously we can eat more, but we still want to be eating in a deficit in order to lose fat. Now, if you start with too low of calories, so say I start eating 1,500 calories at the start of my fitness journey, guess what? When the weight stops, or when I stop losing weight, that plateau everybody talks about, that means I'm going to have to lower my calories even more. That means from 1,500 now, maybe I gotta eat 1,300, 1,200, and there is no way in hell anyone should be eating that low of calories, okay? Now, I am in a cut. I am currently eating 2,000 calories. That is me looking to lose body fat. I'm currently still losing weight, so I will continue to eat that many calories. Now when that stops or it slows down, then I might drop it down to 1,900 or 1,800. But as I get smaller, obviously my body is going to require less calories to function. Cardio is very similar. When you are starting out, you do not want to start off doing 45 minutes, an hour of cardio, because guess what? When the weight stops coming off, you are eventually going to have to increase that. Our body is eventually going to adapt, and you're going to have to raise it. So what? Are you going to go from doing an hour cardio to an hour and a half to 2 hours? No way in hell, okay? So with cardio, when I start off, I'm only doing about 20 minutes of cardio at the end of my workout. Maybe 4 days a week, 4, maybe 5 at max. And so that's usually where I start. So remember, when you start off on your journey, do not start off with a crap ton of cardio. That should be your last resort. Diet and exercise, weight training should be priority. It takes our bodies a few weeks to adapt to what we're doing. That's the same thing when it comes to like what workouts you're doing. That's why you want to change it up by like increasing the amount of weights or playing around with the amount of reps and stuff like that. So same thing with cardio. After a few weeks, obviously your body's going to start to adapt. Then you can bump it up a little bit. So maybe going from 20 minutes to maybe 25 minutes. So after a few weeks, then we go and slowly increase it. But do not start off doing a crap ton of cardio. Let's talk about what cardio you should be doing. I think the most underrated exercise is walking. Literally is walking. All I do is walk on an incline. Now, I like to switch it up. So sometimes I'll go on the Stairmaster. I love the Stairmaster. But either way, I am not doing high intensity. I am not killing myself. I am just finding a pace that is a little bit challenging for me, and I just stay there. So right now on the Stairmaster, I might walk at a 6 or 7 for 20 minutes. So same pace, 6 or 7. I might go up. If I start to really get out of breath, I might lower it down a little bit, but 20 minutes at that same just like steady pace. Now, same thing goes for the treadmill. I will hike that incline up from 12 to 15. Today I walked at 15, and I will go from speed 3 to 4. No hands on the equipment, okay? No leaning your body, no resting. If you have to hold on, then that means you need to lower it down a little bit. So all I do is walk. After I get my full exercise, my full workout in, I will jump on the Stairmaster or I'll jump on the treadmill and I will just walk it out. Right, now let's talk about rest and recovery. There is a such thing as overtraining. You can overtrain your body. Now, when we work out, when we're lifting weights, we are putting stress on our body. We're putting stress on our muscles, and it's extremely important to recover. You are in the gym. That is not when you are building muscle. You are building muscle when you're home and you're sleeping and you're recovering. You're in the gym, you're literally breaking down your muscles. So in order to build that muscle, you have to rest and you have to give your body a break. Not be in there trying to lift weights every single day, okay? You need those days off. I like to do a split where I might lift weights 2 days and then I'll take a day off and then I'll go back in for 2 days and then the next 2 days I take off. Now I am pretty much active every day, but I am not lifting weights every single day. And those days that I am active, it could be something light as far as like taking a walk or maybe doing some ab work because I hate training abs. So I'll do it usually on my rest and recovery days, like taking a yoga class or something like that. But on your rest days, make sure that you are properly resting your body. And that goes for sleep as well. Like when you're asleep, you're giving your body a chance to really repair, fix what's broken, pretty much. To sleep, I know not everybody has the luxury of being able to sleep 8+ hours. Like I completely understand that. But the days that maybe you're not working or you do have time off, make sure you're catching up on your sleep. You'll work out still being sore. Like that's gonna happen, especially when you're first getting started. But you do not need to be sore for your body to be making changes. And I feel like everybody thinks that like after a workout, I'm supposed to be sore the next day. No, you shouldn't. I'm only sore when I usually like first start or I train a muscle group that I haven't trained in a long time. Like if I work chest, I rarely work chest. And so when I do, I'm just extremely sore. But other than that, you should be, when you're weeks into your fitness journey, you should not still be extremely sore to the point to where you can't work out. Being sore is not a reflection of how hard you train. It's not. I'm telling you, those 2 days off of just doing nothing, getting good sleep, once you come back, you will feel so much stronger and just ready to like get a new week started. This video, I did show an example of a lower body workout and how you should map out your lower body days, but let's talk upper body because it's slightly different. Now, what's different between upper and lower bodies is that you don't really have the big lifts with upper body. At least I don't personally. I don't have the big lifts except on back day. Back day is almost like leg day to me. I love training back and you do want a good, solid, strong back. The 3 big lifts that I have when it comes to upper body are deadlifts. So yes, deadlifts can be leg day or upper body. And if you ever done leg lifts, deadlifts, and you feel it in your lower back, you understand it's working your lower back as well. So deadlifts are considered one of my big lifts, as well as barbell rows. That is another big lift for me. So if you're a man watching this, bench press would be another big lift for you. That is a main big lift for most men. Not most women do bench press. I do it every once in a while. I actually like it and I'm starting to incorporate a little bit more. But man, I would work bench twice a week. So that would be another one of your big lifts. So other than that, I just kind of I do dumbbell work, but for beginners, I'm showing you only machine work. It'll be a lot of bicep curls. I mean, you do bicep curls, lateral raises, overhead, like shoulder press. Between my upper body days and my lower body days. With my lower body, I only pick 4 to 5 exercises, and that's it. Now with upper body, I will do 6 exercises just because your muscles aren't as fatigued. Right? With lower body, you have a lot more that you have to lift, not only the weights, but if you're doing squats or things like that, you have all of the weight, all of you that you have to lift with the weights on top of that. Well, upper body, you don't really have that. So yes, you'll fatigue your muscles, but you won't be nearly as tired working upper body as you would lower body. So I usually pick 6 exercises and I'll do the same, and I'll do about 3 rounds of each. Again, I hope this video helps in any way. I try to keep it as simple as I possibly can, but please comment down below if you have any questions. Again, stay tuned for the end of this video where I will include an example of my upper body day so you can see that. But don't forget to give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment down below, hit that post notification, and thank you so much to everybody who's just been tuning in to all my videos. I see your comments, I see them on Instagram, and I appreciate the support so much. It just makes me want to continue to put content out there. But yeah, don't forget to subscribe.